Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Wherever you happen to find yourself in this weird, wild, wacky world of ours, this is another scene for Unmask Orlando. This evening we find ourselves back in Hemingway's restaurant on the property of the Hyatt Regency, where the prince tends to hold his less formal introductions if he's meeting with more than one person, and he doesn't feel like dirtying his office. At the moment, no one is seated at the table, but very soon there will be, as we pan to another booth not far from the prince's table, to Miss Alexandra Diamond.
Who is sitting pretty much alone and taking notes, going through uh, property values of the area and scoping the room pretty much, hoping to meet more of the city's kindred. I don't know what
Patient
else
will
to
enter
say.
at appointed time.
At which point our gangrel primogen would walk in, accompanied by a new member of her clan to the city for his introduction to the prince.
I take it policies of Orlando would be similar to the northern eastern territories as well. Away, Primogen.
Yes.
Okay.
Come sit down.
Of course.
The prince will be here soon. This is his preferred setting for informal meetings.
I must ask, as of recent events that I have learned of, how is our clan faring in Orlando at this moment?
Rather well, though most of the others are neonates, but that's neither here nor there.
Good. It will give me much to teach them.
Indeed, they are young and they need teaching.
Excellent. Only
Many of
been
them
here
lost
5.
their sires in the battle
I
to
see.
take back this city.
We suffered a lot then.
We did. I was one of the few remaining after the battles in this city, but we shall remain strong.
In time, we'll be back to our former glory.
And with that, they hear chatter coming from the door towards the entryway, where you see this man. He is walking into the building with not one but two women flanking him. The first is this woman, wearing a black suit and her hair tied back. But even she is outshone by the other woman with them. This young woman, or at least she appears young. They are giggling and laughing as they approach the table. And the Primogen would stand and make a bow to the prince.
Jason will do the same.
And he gives a curt nod in response, and has the ladies sit on either side of him before sitting down himself. So, Clan Gangrel. Primogen Lake Runner has been a invaluable member of my Primogen Council since I took my throne. I hope you will be the same.
I will strive to be a massive aid. This land in your territory and to you, as I
Good.
always have.
Ah, where are my manners? He nods over at the blonde Primogen Katya von Essen and Miss Eve Wright, a esteemed elder of Clan Malkavian.
Jason gives a polite nod to both.
Now, you're just being nice, my dear. After all, elder is a mm, less than endearing term. But at my age, I suppose age is a touchy subject.
Despite my experience, I don't consider myself Ancilla or even close to elder status yet. Despite how much I've gone through, I'm still somewhat new to this whole endeavor. Only just recently passed my hundreds not too long ago.
A young one then. My.
But what I lack in age
Multiply
and
that
wisdom,
age by 9, my dear, and you may reach mine.
he gives another little nod and he's like, I know how to show respect for my elder. You have, and he kind of looks at her a little bit more intently and doesn't look her up and down or like anything impolite, but then he looks at her and he says, you are indeed experienced, wise, and powerful. Remind me never to upset you.
Oh no, if you upset me, I'm terribly afraid that I would have to end you with a flick of my wrist.
Jason looks over at the Primogen and he's like, see what I mean? You are very dangerous. Like I said, remind me never ever to mess with you.
Yes, I'm merely here visiting my childer, but I figured I would pay the prince a visit as well. I won't stay long. I have many other affairs to deal with after all.
I hope you find your affairs to be preferable, pursued without much conflict, and I wish you good hunting in your futures.
Thank you. Now, Eve. Stealing the spotlight. So, what is it you would ask of my throne?
I seek to have kinship, an asylum, if the prince so wishes. I also seek to do business, to bring aid, resources, skill, and training to your domain, if you wish it. I have had experience with combat a lot, and I have
That's
heard
certainly
that
something we could
here,
use.
indeed, I have heard here in Orlando that is needed. I go where I am needed for my kin.
It is very
Prince will
much.
have me. If the prince will have me here, then I am at your disposal.
I grant you permission to live within my domain. And he kind of looks around the room. Ah, Miss Diamond.
Do I hear him when he says that? How close?
Oh, he would be quite boisterous about it.
My prince?
Come, join us.
She will close the organizer that she was working on and put it in her purse and walk towards the table, wearing pretty much this outfit that is now presented, and we'll take a seat at the table.
Katya would kind of lean over and compliment her on the shoes, mentioning that she has a pair of the exact same ones.
Oh, a woman after my own tastes.
Yes, Katya does have quite fine taste in clothing. Though I must admit, I'm sure either of you would look better without them.
That's quite the compliment.
The gangrel Persian kind of just coughs. Will you grant this young man domain? Or will he be hunting in mine, my prince? Oh, my apologies. I got lost in the beauty in the room. Yes, he may have domain. I will have my men draw it up and make sure it is attached to your domain. That way, the clan can be together. If that is amenable to you both.
Jason looks over at the clan primogen expectantly. I see no problem in this. You?
It is amenable. Thank you, my prince. My pleasure. How about a round of drinks for everyone? He would clap his hands and out would come this fellow. Yes, what can I get for you? I need a round of drinks for everyone in the room. Just one of both, if you would. The other man nods just a bit and disappears back behind the bar. And it takes him a moment, but he comes back out with two large trays. One filled with alcohol, the other with glasses of blood. Offering both to anyone at the table.
I'll take the blood.
Katja and Eve would actually both take a glass of alcohol each, and the prince would take a glass of blood. The primogen would also take a glass of blood.
If the gangrel primogen takes a glass of blood, so will Jason.
Okay. At which point Tyrone would, hurry back behind the bar again and kind of disappear once more. Not exactly fond of being so in the public eye.
Did he have Mask of a Thousand Faces up, or?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
He definitely had his Mask of a Thousand Faces up. While it is all kindred at the moment, he still prefers keeping his mask up.
Quite an
He
impressive
really
man.
only uses his normal face when he's trying to intimidate someone. Yes, he
Tell
is
me,
quite impressive, isn't
indeed, tell me, Prince Darren, the fighting
Darian.
Darian, sorry, out of character, I said that wrong. Not in character, you would have said it right.
Okay.
Darian, the fighting that has been going on down here, has it been anything like what we experienced in Chicago recently with the Sabat incursions?
Yes, they have the full complement of their disgusting shovel heads in Vosges. So it's quite the frustration dealing with them, but thus far our people have been rather adequate in taking care of it, but our Ancilla and elder population has significantly decreased because of it.
How long has this been occurring, or how long did it take before we got to this point, just as a tactical perspective?
Till it was safe for a prince to take the throne and us to claim the ivory tower. Took us nearly 3 years.
I see the conflict in Chicago under Maxwell has been going on about the same amount of time. That means our suspicions were correct that this force that hit
I
the East
have
Coast was joint.
I have only been prince for a little over a month now. We did have another prince, but he only served for about a week before he was mm, assaulted in his hotel room. All we know is whatever killed him flew off of the Elysium in on what appeared to be wings, from all reports.
My prince, I trust that you have taken actions to prevent any such attempt in the
Tragedy?
future. Indeed.
Of course I have. My clan has extreme wards placed on my room should anyone enter that is unwelcome. It won't be pleasant for them.
Then I am
Katya's
relieved.
blood sibling Conrad has been a blessing in that. Katya would give a little smile. I am glad he has been so indispensable, my prince. He has been a rock for me to lean against when I needed him, and to know that he has been such a boon to you as well. It makes my heart glad. The prince would just grin a little bit.
When he says Katya's name again, Jason visibly kind of almost seems like he tries to think where he's heard that name before.
Is
Katya
there a
von
problem?
Katya von Essen.
Yes, Katya von Essen.
I remember making your acquaintance before, although we did not really speak to one another at that point.
Hmm.
But I have to ask if it is any of my business. Are you faring well here in Orlando?
I am. I've only been awakened out of torpor for a short few months, but
He kind of he almost looks like, whoa, you've been Well, that's good to hear then.
Oh no, it was voluntary, darling.
He almost like when she says that he turns and now he's got a look of curious.
I simply needed some quiet time. The age I was in was so dull.
Indeed, we all need.
Sometimes you just need to take a break.
I can relate to that, Imogen.
I can relate to that as well.
And you two aren't even elders yet. Just wait. As the centuries pass, things get dreadfully dull.
That's why it's our job to keep them exciting.
I would definitely take you up on that offer. However, we haven't really introduced to each other. Mr.
Jason Davos, Fan
Oh,
Gangrel.
Alexander Diamond. And I assume the lady by your side is the Primogen?
Yes, you can call me a highway.
Nice meeting you, Primogen.
Pleasure is all mine, my dear.
Tell me, Highway, how long have you been Primogen here of Orlando, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, not long. This Primogen Council is still in its infancy. It was what, just 2 weeks ago you appointed most of us? The prince would give a small nod.
And Highway Prince, what would you say our biggest problem is right now that needs immediate attending or the most attention at this point?
At this point, there are still several of the Sabbat shovelheads making their home in, oh, I forget which one of the parks it is. Give me just a moment, as I have seemed to have forgotten precisely where they were. He would kind of grab his phone and open up the text message that he had received most recently. Down between Lake Nona and Lake Hart, they have, down in southeast Orlando, not far from the airport, they have decided to place themselves and refuse to leave.
I see. So we have a possible location for some.
For some of them, indeed. It,
Ooh.
Well, my prince, if action is to be taken, I do volunteer both myself and my child in assisting.
If fighting
yes, in his
needs to
fucking
be,
Ericsson brick phone.
if fighting needs to be done, then I definitely volunteer.
There is likely to be fighting. Any help that any of you can lend is greatly appreciated.
Out of curiosity, what tribe is Highway
Seminole.
Seminole?
hmm
What languages does she speak, or does she speak native?
She does speak native. She speaks several native languages. In fact, English is not her first language.
Uh,
Seminole, she also speaks Cree. She speaks Lakota.
oh, she does speak Lakota. Cool. Jason speaks Lakota as well.
Yes.
Jason's going to turn to her and in Lakota, and he's going to say, "My warrior's blood has been quiet for far too long. I hope there's no one here who holds sympathy for those that I will face. And he says that all in native tongue.
She would smile just a little bit at that. Yes, well, the warrior spirit cannot be tamed for long. They will feel our claws.
They will feel our teeth, and we will bathe in defeat.
Lady Eve, are you going to be aiding us in this task, or am I to assume that you are here for pleasure only? Oh my, no. I would certainly help. After all, if my child is living here and is a member of your Primogen Council, I certainly wouldn't want. Um, I wouldn't want to be rude. So, tell me a bit about yourselves. Speak. It's not like I'm that intimidating, am I?
If you, if you wish, I was originally from Europe. Had a bit of a skirmish out there, and eventually I found myself in the domain of Maxwell for some time, Chicago. The
Hmm.
Sabbat incursions in that area were great, and we took a lot of effort to push them back. The
Where in
fighting,
Europe, if I may ask?
France,
Oh, she would smile a little bit at that and look at him and speak in French.
he
What
answers
part?
back. He answers back, Paris.
My home.
Yes,
You
very
see, I
few.
was born in Paris. In, oh heavens, I can't even remember the year now. It's
In
been so long.
in French, he says, "Yes, and you have no idea how weird it was telling people of my French and Native American backgrounds. They looked at me like, oh, but
Mm.
Paris was beautiful. Unfortunately, the war made it a bit
Ah,
less
1091.
spiritual.
That was it. 1091.
Some time, and he's saying this
Uh,
all in French.
yes, yes, I have been alive for some time. But we find ways to avoid the doldrums when we can.
Indeed, did you stop by? It's have you been there recently, or has it been?
Oh, yes, I have traveled the world in my time.
I hope the war didn't diminish your first view of Paris. It is
Oh,
unfortunate, but it has
no.
changed a lot. I think it was a lot more beautiful back in the day before the times of change.
Oh, well, my first time there was interesting. But I left there after, oh, I think it was 100 years. Found myself in a city called Edessa, which of course no longer exists. It
Jason,
fell
J-
under Roman rule in 242.
Jason kind of gets this look on his face like, whoa, you've been through a lot.
Ah, yes. I also speak fluent Arabic.
You have me beat. Native tongue of French, a Native American tongue of my mother's side, and English are the only languages I know.
Oh, heavens. English, French, Arabic, German, several other languages, but
Tried to learn German from a friend of mine that I worked with in Chicago. Unfortunately, I just did not have the tongue for it seems.
she would have, slipped out of French and back into
Yep.
English
Or yeah.
after
Like he'll
the initial conversation.
he will respond in kind and continue in English.
Yeah, it wouldn't be polite.
Exactly. It wouldn't be polite to continue in a language that only two of us understand. So, Miss Diamond, I believe is your name?
Indeed. Nice to meet your acquaintance.
Eve Wright.
Eve, right? How would you like me to address you?
You may simply call me Eve. I hold no titles.
If you insist. Eve, nice meeting you. So what would
I
you
was
like to
once
know?
upon a time a member of the nobility, but that was a long time ago.
I assume you have seen the world change quite a few times.
Indeed. Though I must say the clothing is so spectacular now. It makes my little seamstress heart happy.
I could not agree more.
Admittedly, while the dresses were spectacular back then, the color range was lacking.
You do seem very, very well adjusted.
When you have the time to catch up as someone of my age does, you tend to either stay stuck in the past and let technology and things sweep you up and fail to thrive in such a time, or you let it sweep you up in an entirely different way and let it change you and mold you into something that will work much better in this kind of environment.
Indeed, in my experience, you are quite special and a rarity.
So
I
many
do expect
elders
that.
hold so tightly to their tradition. And of course, my dear, I don't mean that the Camarilla traditions, but I do mean to the past, to times when we lacked technology to do such beautiful things. Now people are a simple phone call away. When I was born, you sent a letter and hoped it would eventually arrive.
I do have some experience with that myself, so I have to agree. So, what would you like to know of me, my lady?
Please, Eve, I'm a lady no longer. The Lister, the Wright family, has not held lands or titles in some time.
All right, Eve. So what would you like to know of me?
Tell me about yourself. Where do you come from? What have you done?
Hmm.
What adventures have you had?
Oh, adventures. Unfortunately, my life and non-life has been mostly being at war, as it
Oh,
is.
heavens.
I was born in Greece. Well, At the time, Greece was under Ottoman rule. I
Oh,
was, in fact, a member of the revolution, and as soon as this was done and we gained our independence, I was embraced and
oh
I
my.
continued fighting for the liberation of my country for many, many years. Actually, for more than a century, if you put everything together. I did fight in all world wars, both of them. The Balkan Wars before that. And after World War II, things were not ideal in my home country, so I found myself traveling to the New World, as it was called.
Yes. It was an interesting time when they discovered, she would use air quotes there, this place.
I bet it was. But honestly, it was indeed. Still is, perhaps, the land of opportunity. Although I did not take that opportunity right away, I rested for a couple of decades and,
Understandable.
and contemplated on what I would do afterwards. I didn't have, you see, a country to liberate anymore or a war to fight, so I focused on some personal fights, if you will.
A personal fight is just as important.
Well, I managed to find success. I do have a very successful jewelry store in Miami, and I'm going to expand it here. I
Oh,
also think of giving franchise to other people if there is interest.
I may have to visit you once you're open. I am a fan of jewelry.
Oh, indeed, had I known that you would be visiting, I would have something for you. And for you as well, Highway. And she will look at the primogen, the Gandra primogen.
Why, thank you. I'm not sure that that's entirely necessary. I don't wear much jewelry, but I tend to prefer my jewelry handmade and, well, as a general rule, beads are my jewelry of choice.
Well, if not wearing it, you could just keep it as a keepsake and as a token of my respect.
I suppose you're right. Okay, with that, we're gonna have to call it a scene because I can barely keep my eyes open. I am
Alrighty.
yawning like crazy.
Thank you,
Yeah.
players for playing. Thank you, watchers for watching.
See you next time.
See you next time.